Hey guys, this is Zach with Farm Table West, and welcome to the August farm tour. Today is August 31st, 3:33 p.m. and it's been a long month. There's been a lot going on. August is always the busiest month of the year for me because we are harvesting like crazy and planting like crazy for fall and winter, and yeah, it's been a rough year. The whole cold spring thing, which is a normal, well, I don't know. This was a weird spring because it was kind of cold, but very little sun, and all of our crops were really far behind. But there's still a lot to talk about, a lot going on, a lot growing on. So, without further ado, let's just get into it. So behind me, um, we've got a couple of beds that were just flipped this week that are going to be radishes and arugula. We've been planting arugula pretty much every week for restaurants. That's the one crop we pretty much grow May through October outside. Actually, I mean, even longer than that, in greenhouses. And so it's been nice to get the bushy weeds out of the garden because they're dropping seed right now. So there's tons of weeds everywhere. But I'm not too worried about it because we're going to be flipping and doing all sorts of bed prep in October to hopefully get a lot of that stuff prepped for spring. But we already pulled shallots. Those have they flipped over a week ago, and we pulled all those. I'll show you those drying. But behind me, we've got, let me just flip the camera. It's easy. We've got the white onions here. They're starting to flip over, and that means they're about ready, but there's still enough standing that I'm gonna just let them keep going for a week or two. Red onions, same thing. Yellows look like they're a little bit earlier. These are Patterson and Red Wing from Johnny's, and I think the Patterson are ready a little bit earlier. Yeah, I'm going to let them go for another week or so until they all flip, and then we'll pull these and start curing them. Under here, we've got our almost last planting of Hakurai turnips. They're starting to get turnipy, you know, they're starting to look like turnips. Pretty soon here, we'll be picking those. And as you can see, there's just every weed that I didn't get turns into a bush at this time of year and starts dropping seeds. That's just part of the game. Here's our summer squash. This has just been a huge year for that. It's been picking almost 120 pounds a week out of this whole 100-foot bed. We got patty pan, yellow squash, and regular green zucchini. This is probably the last lettuce planting right here in the field, at least, and it's been pretty rough. I think a lot of the stuff I planted was just not a great start because I let it go too long. This parsley has been producing all season. I'm not even really worried about pulling it because it's still producing and it's selling really well to the restaurants. This kale's been picked 2 or 3 times by now, and we'll probably get 1 or 2 more batches of about 25 bunches for our veggie box. This is probably our last batch of head lettuce right here. This is all kind of butterhead and stuff like that. Beets up the wazoo. Most of these we're just gonna top and use for selling in October. We'll just top them and sell them bagged, 1-pound bags. As you can see, most of this stuff, this is where the shallots were, so there's nothing here right now. We just pulled that last week. And lots more weeds. This is amaranth. For any of you herbal people or plant specialists, this is a cool plant because these produce these little seeds that can be like popped like popcorn, I think. But they are bushy, so I'm hoping to harvest this before it gets too bad because I don't want all that seed to be dropping. But we got our last 2 beds of green onions here. Another bed of lettuce, lots and lots of lettuce. Yeah, I wish I did this a couple weeks ago because a lot of this stuff would have still been in here, but we had broccoli here. This is already, I pretty much picked most of it this week. We had like, I don't know, 150, 120 pounds out of this bed, which is good. So I left a couple of them here that are still growing, and some of them are starting to side shoot a little bit, but this is Bell Star, which is I'm not real thrilled with this variety. It's real woody, not real tender, but it does yield a lot. And this is our fall carrots, which is loaded with weed bushes, but the carrots look fine, so we'll just have to deal with the weeds next year, unfortunately. But yeah, these are looking pretty good. We'll be harvesting these probably in October. This is another bed of arugula, lots and lots of arugula under this insect netting to keep the flea beetles off. This is kind of exciting. This is a bed of cover crops. This was just a disaster bed. So, and I bought some fall cover crop mix from Johnny's just to try it out. I've never really tried cover crops. So if you look real close there, that's like peas and oats and vetch, I think. So it'll grow, you know, through October and hopefully get bushy. Hopefully the next time we do a tour, it'll be a little bit thicker, but it's just starting to grow. So we'll see how that goes. That's going to be interesting. That's pretty much it for the field. The field's getting winding down. We've got like, I'm going to plant 3 more beds on Monday of this upcoming week, and that's going to be about it. But most of what we got in here now is just the last little bits of carrots. Mostly stuff we're just going to harvest and store in the fall, winter. This is more storage carrots here, and this was that cabbage that I was talking about, and I've pretty much harvested everything of this, but this was a pretty cool little crop. Each cabbage was 1 to 2 pounds, which is nice. So that's pretty much the field. Let's go into the greenhouse. All right, so this is our 72-foot tunnel with the second planting of tomatoes, and it's been a roller coaster in here. Lots of tomatoes died from some kind of wilt, which I don't know exactly what caused it, but because these are all supposed to be resistant to it, but I'm going to send them some leaves to a lab and find out exactly what it is for next year. Hopefully it's not wilt that lasts in the soil for a long time, but it is what it is. We had to pull about 40 plants out of here, and there was only about 240 plants. It's just been a weird year. The tomatoes in here did not produce nearly as much as the other greenhouse, and I'm not really sure why, but could have been the cold spring or something. But I've heard from other farmers around here almost every summer crop has just been really bad yields and stuff, so I'm guessing that's what's going on. But hopefully next year it'll be better. But yeah, I went ahead and topped these yesterday, so I took all the growth tips off of all of them, so they'll just focus on ripening the last little bit of fruit we got here, which will be a decent amount. It'll finish out our season pretty good. We got a lot of these Romas everywhere, just now basically starting to produce, but I was hoping they'd be producing a lot earlier, but better late than never, basically. And then in here, this is our heirloom row, and this has been probably the best production out of the whole greenhouse, which is weird because I thought these weren't supposed to produce as well, but they're starting to blush real good, produce really nice color fruit. This is that Margold yellow fruit, which is gorgeous. It turns like yellow and red tint. And then this is the Marnero, I think. That's the purple one, and that's just absolutely gorgeous too. And this is a weird plant. I mean, the fruit comes on the main stem and then all these little side stems that aren't really suckers, but they're still producing really nice fruit everywhere. So it is a mess in here. So I think by the next time we do a tour, I'll have this all ripped out and we'll have winter greens and stuff in here. But lots of red slicers. These are the slicers that are mostly grafted, and I'm still kind of on the fence on whether or not that's worth it. I lost a lot of grafted plants. A lot of them really just started to wilt real bad. Like this one right here is doing that wilting thing, and it's a disease. I don't know what it is yet, but there's still a ton of fruit on here, so I'm hoping we get some of this fruit to ripen. But yeah, this is basically what's been happening. There's been a whole bunch of this wilt going on, and this is a grafted plant that's supposed to be resistant to it, so it's really frustrating, but it is what it is. So I just started planting cucumbers in the plants I had to rip out, so those are starting to produce like crazy. And then there's our greenhouse cukes. I still got a lot to learn on how to produce cucumbers, but because they haven't really been producing what I thought they would, but there's still a good amount of fruit right there. Good little first try. I don't know, we're picking 40 pounds a week or something out of these 2 beds, which isn't terrible. I just wish it was more, but here's a bunch of grass. I got a lot of grass to rip out this fall. That's gonna be fun. Next year I'm gonna put a little barrier in the ground to stop grass from growing in the perimeter of the whole greenhouse, but that takes some time and effort. But I'm gonna put some polycarbonate underground to stop this from happening. But this basil's been producing great, even with the grass. And this celery has been amazing also. We've picked this once already, and we'll pick it probably one more time and get about, I don't know, 60-70 bunches every time we pick, so that's a pretty nice little crop. This is fall broccoli. I thought I was going to plant the second batch of cucumbers, but I don't think I had time. So this broccoli will be a nice little fall crop. And this is our peppers. I can't remember what they're called, but they're all greenhouse bell peppers from Johnny's, with a bunch of volunteer Claytonia in the bottom from winter. Probably should deal with that at some point, but these have just started to come on basically, which is you know, about right, I guess. And we're picking about, I don't know, 10 pounds a week, which isn't very much. I got a lot to learn on peppers also. You're supposed to prune them, and I did a little bit, but there just wasn't that much to prune. And you're supposed to put them up these strings, but not too bad. The flavor is amazing on them. They taste really good. And this is more broccoli with a truckload of bindweed, which is something I got to deal with, and I don't really have a good solution to. So if anybody has an idea on bindweed, how to deal with it without chemicals, that'd be great, because it's pretty tricky. You can't really just rip it out. It's just a voracious little rhizome thing. But yeah, you could see on this celery, I just picked some of it today. You take the outer stalks like that, and then they form a bunch, and it's really, really productive. It's a nice little crop. People love it. People go nuts for it. And here's our cherries. All these tomatoes are just so late. They didn't really start producing any volume until like last week. So I'm guessing that's just because of the cold, but there's a decent amount right now, so we'll just pick them for the next couple weeks, and then I'm planning on flipping them all to winter greens last week in September. And then over here we got more arugula and broccoli. That's pretty much what's going on in here. I'll show you the other greenhouse too. The tomatoes in there are even sadder, but they really had a huge bumper crop back in July, and then sort of slowed down with similar disease issues and stuff since then. But yeah, we got a little bit of that wilt going on in here too. But yeah, these were planted back in April, so they've done really well. I've gotten really amazing truckloads of tomatoes out of these. But I've started to pull a bunch of plants that are sick, and by now it's just, you know, late season. Probably be flipping these even sooner. But right here is our shallots that I pulled last week, and they're already a week. They're drying pretty well, and I had no idea how much we got, but this is about a quarter of it. And these are 3 beds worth, I think, 3 50-foot beds. Well, this is only part of it. The other part of it's over here. That's the rest of it, all the way down there. So there's quite a bit of shallots, and then we'll be flipping those to onions soon. I'm doing the curing in 2 different batches. But yeah, it's a jungle in here, lots of weeds, lots of fun stuff to deal with. This is kochia, I think is what they call it. This is a good old-fashioned western tumbleweed, basically. But yeah, most of these are dead or dying, but yeah, it's time to start thinking about winter now anyway, so it's no big deal for me. Lastly, I will show you, oh wait, actually, here's the last of our winter starts. Basically, this is lettuce and parsley. I planted a whole bunch of winter stuff in the ground today that I'll show you right now. But yeah, this is our first batch of celery that we've already picked twice. We'll get one more pick out of that. And then our first batch of basil, which has been insanely productive. But yeah, I'm real happy with this shallot harvest. That's going to be a lot. That'll last us all the way till May probably. Depends on how fast they sell really, but they're kind of all on pallets and grates, and these fans will start drying them out really good, and hopefully in about a week they'll be ready to cut off the stem and put into bulk crates. So now let me show you the newest project we got. Alright, so behind me we have our 2 newest additions to the farm, our 2 new caterpillar tunnels from Farmer's Friend. They are 100-foot Gothic Pro tunnels with all of the bells and whistles for wind, and these are amazing to build. It was so easy compared to a regular greenhouse. It only took me about 2 weeks to build these. And so we got the plastic on finally last Monday, and they were pretty much done. I'm going to put a couple of little end walls, fancier end walls on them, because right now I've just got these what they come with is, what you're supposed to do is just wrap it around some T-posts, kind of like I've got, I don't know if you can see that right behind me. And this is just not going to work for our wind here, but I got a kit to do to build your own end wall from them. So I'm going to put those. I'm going to put at least 2 end walls on the parts behind me on this western edge, and I probably will go ahead and do the whole thing. But also got this irrigation system from them, from Farmer's Friend, which is really cool. Still getting used to it. It's a different kind of sprinkler than I'm used to, so I've got to kind of zone it. There's so much water going through because there's like, I don't know, 30 or 40 sprinklers here, and I think it's 1 sprinkler every 3 foot. And I found that there's not enough water going out to make them run right when you're running 2 houses at the same time. So I'll have to figure that out. But yeah, they're pretty slick. Let me just flip. You got this whole, you basically put it all on the center purlin, and here's the wind bracing. And we've had some pretty windy days already. It's been close to 20-mile-an-hour winds already, and pretty impressed with how well it's going. But I definitely want to make this into a real end wall where it's not flapping around so much. But this is the irrigation system. And then this is the first tunnel that I planted. All I've got in here is carrots for winter so far. And I had really bad germination because combination of old seed and the sprinklers I was using don't work very well in the wind, so there's a lot of bad germination. But I probably got about 3 50-foot beds worth of carrots here, and I'll replant. I'll hand seed radishes in there in a couple weeks. And I just cultivated this morning. It was really weedy, so the weeds are gone. And then those other 5 beds in the back will be spinach. That'll go in next week because it's all, we're just planting for winter now. But yeah, these carrots will be really popular in the winter. We'll just harvest it outside first because I know from experience that the cold seeps in and does a lot of damage to root crops. So pretty much everything from the edges will be harvested first, and then these 3 inner beds will last till maybe January, February. It's supposed to be a really cold winter again, so we'll see how well that goes. But here is the second tunnel that's much more planted. I planted most of this morning. This is all celery. I planted it pretty close because I'm guessing that I'm not going to have time for it to get fully big by November 7th, which is our last 10-hour day. And I'm planning on just harvesting it all by then, pretty much. I don't think it's not gonna do well in extreme cold, so we'll just sell it as quick as we can. I got a walk-in cooler now, so I can store stuff for a little bit at least. And then this is all winter kale. I planted this morning. This is all Siberian kale. That's really cold hardy, and that hopefully will last most of the winter. We'll see. I've done it before, and it was on the outside of the tunnel, so it didn't do as well, I think, as it would have been if it was on the inside, because the cold starts seeping in. So this year I'm just gonna harvest all the outside beds before it gets real cold, and then we'll just be harvesting out of the 3 middle ones. We got 5 beds, 5 rows in each 100-foot tunnel, so that's a total of 20 50-foot beds. So that's a lot. And then here's our green onions for kind of winter, fall-ish. You know, kind of just, the nice thing about these crops is I can just harvest them whenever I see -20 in the forecast. I'll just harvest them all and then try and sell them. But I'll try and keep them as long as I can, because it's nice to have in the winter. But the Old Farmer's Almanac said this winter's supposed to be as cold as the last one, which will make it tough, but that's okay. And then I just seeded the last batch of Hakurei salad turnips here in this bed today, and then this whole 100-foot row right here is all Claytonia, which is a really cool winter crop that is very tough, and we'll show you more about that when it's actually growing, but it's a very cool crop. And then here's our last batch of cabbage here that'll hopefully be ready before November. It's the same little 1-pound, 2-pound cabbages. And then this is a little bit of an experiment. This is Napa cabbage that I'm hoping will get to size before it gets, before November also. And it's definitely growing. I planted these on Friday, and they're definitely growing now. So we got 2 inches of compost here that I used a bobcat to do all of this work, because it would have killed my back if I did it by hand. But used the bobcat, put 2 inches of compost on both of these tunnels, and then tilled that in. So it's brand new ground, and this was all pasture. You know, I think in the last video it was pasture. So the grass, we cut it with an attachment on the bobcat that was like a blade, and cut it like 6 inches deep, and it seems like most of the grass is dead. There's still a few stragglers like right there, but I've been kind of just hand picking that as we plant. But it seems like it's mostly gone, so that's a really good deal, because I definitely don't want to have a whole bunch of grass in here. And so yeah, that's pretty much the farm right now. I'm very excited about these tunnels. I think they're a game changer for farming and homesteading and everything, because they're so easy to build, and if you can make it so they can withstand crazy wind, at least in Wyoming, which I think I can with a few upgrades, I think they're going to be really cool way to grow, because our season is so short. This adds another almost 2 months of season for us. So it's a really cheap way to do it, because the other ones are just very expensive on your time and effort and stuff. So anyway, hope you enjoyed that, and stay tuned for the next one. I'm also going to be doing some videos later on in the season when I have more time to edit. I'm going to do some videos of just me planting and harvesting and stuff, which will hopefully be relaxing, but they'll take a lot more time for me to edit. So stay tuned for those. And yeah, leave some comments if you have any feedback or ideas on certain weeds, and if you're doing any winter growing in your area, let me know. So thanks so much, and see you in the next one.